Okay, so my friends, I have seen a lot of people quite enjoying the game that has recently released, right? So of course I'm talking about Starseed. And yeah, with this video, I have seen a lot of people asking for a tier list, right? Now, while this will not be a tier list that you may imagine, right, where I just simply put units whether it is S tier, A tier, B tier, all of that, right? Instead, what I'm gonna be doing is a step further than that, and instead of just giving my opinion, right, I'm gonna be showing what's actually being used and what is actually meta in the Korean server, right? So this server has been around for, I believe, close to like half a year or something like that, right? And there have been a lot of changes when it comes to the meta. A lot of new units have been released that have changed the meta quite a bit. And what we're gonna be doing is I'm gonna be checking several places, right? So the first thing we will be checking is the summon session, and not the session, the summon whatever you call wishlist, right? And you can put 5 units in each element in your wishlist, but at the bottom here you can also see what picks are the most picked when it comes to this wishlist, right? And the reason I want to show this is in global, the data from this, I don't even know if global has this option, right? I do hope it does. It can be skewed up a bit by users who do not know which units are good, right? And for example, if a lot of users, put a same unit in there, it will just inflate the statistics without actually knowing whether a unit is good, right? So we're gonna be checking this out. This is just a quick preview, but I'll be talking about them further in a bit, right? And the other place we're gonna be checking is actually PvP ranking. So we're gonna be checking the regular arena, which is right here, and we're gonna be checking the team arena to see what units are being used in PvP as well. I will showcase you the units from the top rankers in the server, so you can actually know what strong people are actually using the most when it comes to their units, right? And before we move further, if you are interested in seeing more content like this, make sure to subscribe, because I will be covering this game at least for the next few weeks moving forward, right? Okay, so before I give you any idea of what units are popular, we have to clarify which units are actually released, right? So on the left, unfortunately, I haven't played too much in the global server yet, but you will have this list on your game. This is a list of units that are currently released in the soft launch of the game, and then on the right side you can see all of the units that are currently available on the Korean server, right? I do have all of them unlocked. In total, there are still 15 units that are missing from the global version of the game, right? You can see all of them here, but I have also excluded all of the units. Let me quickly find them. Yeah, these are the units that aren't currently released in the global version, I believe, at least. I tried to check them all one by one. In case I missed 1 or 2 units, please do let me know in the comments, right? Human errors do happen, right? But these are the units that haven't been released in global yet, and I don't know whether this is unfortunate or fortunate, but a lot of these units are extremely popular when it comes to both top user statistics as well as PvP especially, right? And so the first thing I want to start with is the top summon units on the server, right? I have shown you the list quickly, but here is the full list of at least the top 5 of them, right? Excuse me because I do not know them by the names, right? Because I have been playing for the Korean version for pretty much the whole time, right? And I only know a few of the names, right? But yeah, you will see that at least in the top summon section, you will see some of the familiar faces that are currently released in the global version. And honestly, like, from my opinion, from playing the game, right, I kind of have to agree with a lot of these top picks, right? So I'm not gonna cover too much the units that aren't currently released yet. I will be doing that in the future, probably closer to when they release on the global server, and I will try to test those units out to give you like a feel whether you want to summon them or not. But yeah, starting with the pink element, we can see that the unit in the 3rd and 4th position are currently released, right? Both of these, from what I've noticed, are more sort of used in PvP, right? But these units are definitely gonna be the main quite popular when it comes to both PvE and PvP. I know that the 3rd one, right? This little bubbly girl, yeah, she is one of the top picks when it comes to PvE content, as she is able to just give you insane amounts of energy recharge cycling, right? This one, I have tried this unit. I think is she called like Yura or something like that? I have tried her out. I am not a big fan of her because she does have an ability where she targets the front line, however she's also able to hit the back line. The problem with her, from what I have tested, right, because I have tried to make her work quite a bit, her ultimate simply doesn't seem to reach the backline often, right? It might reach when she is attacking multiple units in the front line, something like that, right? When she focuses one and she gets the back line. But a lot of the times the frontline units are so far away from the archers and supports backline that her ultimate simply has, I don't know, it has just a tiny bit too short of a range to reach that backline. So I tried to make her work. Unfortunately I couldn't, but she still remains one of the top picks. So when it comes to the pink element, both the 3rd and the 4th position are definitely safe pulls, especially the 3rd one, as they will definitely be useful units going throughout all of the changes. Now, when it comes to the blue element, I believe all of the units apart from the 1st place are already released, right? And yeah, I haven't personally tested the one in the 2nd and 5th positions. However, I will talk more about the 2nd one in just a bit when it comes to PvP stuff, right? But I have seen a lot of people talk about the 3rd position one as a great tank, right? I have tried to make her work a bit myself. Unfortunately, what I found is that while tanks are pretty good at absorbing damage, right? In a lot of PvE content where you are actually struggling to beat a stage, the damage output from enemies will be so high that even her tankiness is simply just not enough to last you until your backline and your knights or attackers, whatever they're called, are able to wipe the enemies instead, right? So while in general idea tanks are useful, right, I think that outside of PvP they aren't that great, right? So yeah, I've seen her used, I've seen people talk very great about her, right? But personally I just can't say that I recommend her, right? Because I think personally myself, right, when it comes to PvE, this is the team that I mostly use, right, and it actually consists of 3 attackers and 2 supports in the back, right. I'm not gonna say that this is like by far the best team or anything like that, right, but I have found that in a lot of cases most of the tanks will be able to sustain it long enough, right, and not tanks, I mean attackers, will be able to sustain it long enough, especially if you have a support or 2 in the backline, as well as at least the units that I have right here, right, they do have some sort of self-sustaining abilities, right? So the red-haired one in the middle, I believe her name is Frederica, she does have a big shield on her skills. The last unit, the thief, she does have an ability to jump into the backline once she gets low. And yeah, instead of just wasting a slot on one of your tanks, I have found that it's just better to go for a more DPS setup with units that do have a little bit of self-sustain. So yeah, myself, unfortunately, I think I cannot recommend building her too much. However, since there is a bit of a lack of options at the moment, you can use her as one of the units in your main team. However, eventually, if you are looking for a unit specifically for the blue element, the first place thief will be pretty much a must summon, right? Because without this thief, PvE content will be nearly impossible. Trust me, I have tried to complete PvE without her. I only built her like in the middle of the game, right? Probably less than a month ago. And trust me, she is broken. So definitely you'll want to be investing into the thief. But when it comes to the other spots, I would say the third one, it's okay, right? I have also tested the archer in the 4th position. I found that she does good AoE damage. However, she will perform not the best in PvP, right? Because she will get nuked by the assassins, right? PvP is very heavily based on a single unit that is an assassin, and it is this one, right? So we'll cover that one in the future. But that is a unit that simply jumps into your backline and your archers will be in a lot of trouble. So the 4th position one, she is pretty decent in PvE, right? She does have a nice freezing area on her skills, but she is definitely not one of like 2 amazing units. However, as you can see, she does still persist to be a pretty decent pick for a lot of content. And now when it comes to the green element, you can see some familiar faces as well, especially the 4th and 5th units. So both the 4th and the 5th picks are very popular. Sia, I believe her name is currently a featured banner in the global version, and she is mostly a PvP unit. When I showcase you the PvP teams, you will see her in pretty much every team, at least when it comes to the 3v3 mode, right? And for the 5th one, this is a unit that I constantly use. I have to say, this is my opinion, right? But she is the best support in the game, not counting maybe the light and dark units, right? I haven't tested those too much. I do have them, but I played only a bit with them. I have to say this one, definitely a must summon, right? She increases the damage of all of your units just by being in the game. She does have a decent healing, but when you do level her up quite a bit, her heals scale very well, right? I've noticed that she didn't heal too much before, but now she's actually able to sustain a little bit of her team, right? So for the 4th and 5th units, if you are interested in PvP, this will be a very good option for the 3v3 mode, and the bug girl will be an amazing pick for a lot of PvE content. And now let's talk about PvP, right? So when it comes to PvP, there are 2 modes currently, right? There is a 1v1 mode where you fight with a team of 5 against a team of 5. Let me actually showcase you that. There we go. I know some of you may not have this unlocked yet. I'm not sure when the regular arena unlocks. I think it's quite early on, but I know that the other 2 modes are unlocked quite late into the game, right? But yeah, when it comes to the first mode, this is the regular arena that I like to call it, and this is a team where 5 of your units fight against a team of 5 against the enemy units, right? And in here you can see the leaderboards. When it comes to the server, I'm currently ranked 17, so quite low, but all I've been doing is just quick battles, right? But yeah, you can see that you are able to check a list of top used units when it comes to your server, right? And in the other mode, this is a 3v3 mode, so basically you set up 3 teams of 5. This is exactly the reason why in my tips and tricks video I mentioned that you should be building 15 units in total. So you can see that you can set up your defense here, and whenever you attack a person, you can see the teams that they are using in here. And likewise, we can also check out the leaderboards. So it will only show 1 unit, but if we enter the profile of this person, we go here and we click on the team setup in here, we can see the full team that they are using. So we're not going to be checking that in game. I have taken screenshots of this, right? So I have taken screenshots of the top 5 3v3 users, as well as the top 9 1v1 arena users, and we can see the units that are currently popular in the PvP modes, right? So let's start with the 3v3 mode. This is a mode where you will naturally see more diverse unit pools because you do need to have 15 units, right? And you will see some familiar faces as well. So first of all, you can see that the tank right here, right? I'm not sure what her name is. available right here. I'm not even sure if you can see the cursor, but I'm talking about this one. She is a quite popular pick in a lot of teams, as you can see, 4 out of 4. Yeah, she's used in pretty much every team, so while I wasn't able to make it work, she does seem to be a pretty popular pick in the 3v3 version. Unfortunately, she's not a very popular pick in the 1v1 version. You can see her once, but yeah, that's about it. Like, from the top 10 people, she is only seen worse, and that's the reason. Because this is a much better tank when it comes to frontlining, right? She is a much better PvP unit that you can see in pretty much every team. This is her skin version, and this is her normal version. She will be released later on, and judging by the Korean release schedule, it will be quite a while until we get her, right? Because she appeared when I started playing 2 months ago, and that has been like half a year after Korea released. But yeah, you can see that she is a pretty decent tank when it comes to PvP at least, and she's definitely not a unit that you will lose out on if you choose to summon her, right? Now, another unit that we can see quite frequently that I mentioned is this one, right? You can see, let me actually increase this a bit. You can see that she is used in 3 out of 5 top teams in here, right? So again, while I did say she is pretty like top tier when it comes to PvE, you can use her as a PvP, the sort of like offensive booster as well, right? I'm not a fan of her when it comes to PvP, but for PvE, definitely a must-have from the currently released units. And lastly, just to give you ease of mind, I do want to say that the current banner that you have, Sia, I believe, is a very frequently used unit in the 3v3 arena as well. You can see her in 4 out of 5 teams in the top 5, right? So she is definitely a very popular pick when it comes to PvP, and you will definitely not go wrong by summoning several copies of her. Personally, when it comes to pickup banners, I would recommend waiting for light and dark units, because trust me, skilling up light and dark units after their banner is a task that I do not wish on anyone, right? Because it will be pretty much impossible, right? So while you will be able to pick up regular element units from the standard banner later on, picking those light and dark ones will be near impossible. So if you really want her, or if you have like money to spend on the game, feel free to go for her, but do save some scrolls for the light and dark units that will be coming out soon. And now let's talk about the PvP, the 1v1 regular arena, right? So unfortunately for this mode, big majority of the units that are currently meta will not be already released on your server, right? You can see some of the frequent picks, for example, being the Thief, right? She is an amazing unit, trust me, you will need her. So yeah, she's pretty much seen in every single defense in here. When it comes to tanks, while she is a good option, this one will be a much more preferred one. You can see her in pretty much every single team as well. She has insane shielding and healing abilities that are honestly quite hard to go through, even if you have all 5 of your units against her single unit standing, right? Like, say 5v1 scenario, you will still have trouble killing this unit. So yeah, when it comes to tanks, you can build her, but for PvP you will eventually want to replace her with this unit instead. And surprisingly enough, just as I said, apart from this unit, every single other unit in the top 9 PvP teams is a unit that isn't currently released globally. That's why I'm saying you should be saving your scrolls for a bit, right? Because majority of the units that you currently build, they will either fall off quite a bit when it comes to regular PvP, or they will simply be outshadowed by much stronger kits, much stronger picks, right? We can see that current PvP meta is very like heavily based on having a very strong self-healing tank as well as having an assassin, right? This unit right here, it has several skins, so like this and this is the same unit. This is a unit that will simply jump into your backline and kill all of your archers and supports quite fast, right? That's why I see that a lot of units are actually fighter based. What are they called? Like attackers, fighters, knights? I'm not even sure. And you will not see a lot of like archers in PvP. Like if we look at this, we see one archer right here, and do we see any more? Another archer right here. Actually, two in one team. It's very difficult to make archers work in the current PvP meta. That's why you don't want to over-invest into the current units, especially if they are backline units, right? So yeah. So now that we've seen every single unit that is unreleased, that is meta, all of that, right? This is a standard roster that I would say is worth looking into, right? Whether you build them or not, it's up to you, but these are from the currently released units. These are the units that I would recommend you to take a look into and think about powering up, right? So just to recap all of them, this one, pretty good tank, will fall off later on in PvP, right? But you can still use her in PvE eventually. However, do keep in mind that PvE, I feel like, is more attacker based, right? Attack supports archers. Tanks will not be too necessary from my perspective so far, but yeah, when it comes to tanks, it's pretty much one of the best options currently available. Now for her, she is a pretty good PvE archer, right? She is able to wipe a very large area of units, especially with her blossom skill, right? So if you are focusing more on PvE, she is a very good option. I have eventually replaced her with a attacker instead, right? Because I found that it's pretty difficult still to make archers work, especially if they're not that light archer. I'm not even sure if the light archer is released already. But yeah, it's pretty hard to make archers work in this game in general. So yeah, if you want something for PvE specifically, she's pretty good, but apart from that, I wouldn't over invest too much into her. Now for Sia, right? I hope I remember at least one of the names, right? When it comes to Sia, she is a pretty good PvP pick. You have seen her mostly dominate the 3v3 arena, so if you will be someone who is more interested in PvP, she will be a very good pick moving forward. Now for the next two, I'm gonna group them up, right? These are the pretty much two main supports that I recommend for every single content, honestly, especially when it comes to PvE content, bosses, all of that. One of them will, both of them will do healing. One of them will boost your damage, the other one will boost your energy charge rates. Both things are super important when it comes to conquering a lot of PvE content, so whether you build one of them, whether you build two of them, that's up to you, but these are the standard picks that will remain very meta, and I do highly recommend building both of them. And for the last two, you have seen that these are quite situational. I didn't talk too much about her, but you will see her quite high in the rankings, and as well as a PvP team or two. And for what's her name? Yuri, right? Yuni, something like that. She will be a pretty decent pick, especially early on, I would say, although it is quite hard to make her ultimate work. So in these cases, I do recommend having maybe a team built specifically around her if you are able to afford it, because if you just let her be there and let her hit the front line and expect her to hit the back line as well, you might be disappointed for quite a bit, right? But yeah, in general, these are the main units I recommend you to pay attention to, right? Especially including these two, as well as, I guess, these two, right? But yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, peace.